seminar. And I retain also that with good data management, a smart city becomes a smart city with wisdom. So that's an important lesson to retain. I also see a lot of similarities between the European and the Korean approach, which of course, as we're like-minded countries with very similar set of values, is of course not surprising. So let's now move on to another important part of our policies, which is around stimulating research and innovation for IoT and smart cities. And here I give the floor to my colleague, Emilio Davila-Gonzales, who works in DG Connect on standards, policy, and for digital, and who will be presenting the European approach on R&D for smart cities. Emilio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tony. Sorry, let me put my video on. Thank you. Let me try to share the screen. I hope it will work now. Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I will try to explain a little bit the activities of research and innovation programs that we are dealing on both IoT and smart cities.
Just you have to go in full view of your
slide. It's not
slide.
in full view. Okay, let me do that. Now?
Perfect.
Okay, thanks, Tony. So let's go quick for that. There is a lot of slides. Some of the issues are there for background information. I will go quickly through them. So just first say that both in the new European Commission, digital and green transitions are a clear Commission priority, and as such, all the tools that the European Commission has to support this important twin transition are there, including, of course, research and innovation program, which dedicates a lot to that. And regarding IoT, we need to take IoT from the broad angle and definition. And the idea is to cover with all our research programs all the different dimensions that IoT encompasses. So IoT is not only one thing communicating to the other with via internet, but there is a lot of different dimensions that are there. So you have the connectivity, the sensor control infrastructures, the sensor management, the cloud infrastructure supporting it, the data spaces, which Dr. Parker has explained quite well in the context of the cities, and then on top of it, all the different applications and services that could be given for the users, either industrial or the citizen. And of course, you have also the different sectors of applications there. So in our research and innovation program, we try to cover all these different angles. And when we are funding research and innovation on IoT, which is such broad, we try on one side to find projects that bring forward the innovation, of course, which is the main characteristic of IoT. But along with that, we try to have coordination and support actions that bring all the different pieces of the puzzles together, and also promote the cooperation between the different players. So here, for instance, you have the different IoT projects that have been funded, including also platforms and pilots, but also at the same time we have coordination and support actions like Open TTA and Next Generation IoT, IoT, that bring all these projects, or try to bring all these projects together, so we can take advantage of synergies and maximize the outcome of the projects going in the same directions, contributing also to policy on one side and also to standardizations, for instance, as a way to get the results with uptake in the market. And also collaborating with the different stakeholders, and here is the right side of it, with all the different public and private partnerships that brings together users, public authorities, industry associations, like the 5 generations Internet associations that now will be, the Alliance for Internet of Things Innovation, the Big Data Value Associations for the data, the EXO for the cybersecurity, etc., etc. So we try to approach the research and development in a holistic way, bringing together all the stakeholders, funding the concrete research projects to advance the innovation, and then also streaming operations for trying to ensure more impact in the market. And the takeaway from the last years about that is, we need to start with use cases. And I think my colleague also, Olavi, explained that the importance of cooperating, identifying use cases, and this is applicable to all the different sectors. And from the use cases, they are then start developing the research projects and advancing the technology that could serve the requirements of all the use cases. And then in order to bring the results of these projects and advancing the progressing the technology into the market and providing services to the citizens and the industry, then we need, of course, to try to create these partnerships, create innovation hubs, promote common reference architectures that then could be brought into standardizations, and also provide for interoperable platforms where then you can build the different innovation above fit. And again, the examples provided by Dr. Park on the city environment was a very good one, explaining all these different layers. And then I will give you an example for one sector. I could have picked many of them because it's IoT. Let's do it with agriculture. So for instance, the main challenges that we can take from the sectors is, but this is also similar to many other sectors. First, of course, consumer acceptance, the need to ensure profitability, sustainability in a way where we have short resources, and we need to look at the also climate change. And climate change and the effect, the carbon print, is something that is similar to all the different sectors where IoT is concerned. And then look at the regular constraints and all the legacy equipment that is there, how you can integrate it with the new developed solutions. And then upon that, then you identify all the different dimensions of digitalizations for the particular sectors. For instance, here you have it there for the farming, as I said, precision farming, automatization, how to include IoT, AI, robotics, drones, to all the value chains, how this fits into the different policy, and how connectivity could fit and provide for support to all these activities. And then when you have the projects looking at all these dimensions, what we do is to find the larger scale pilots. Why? Because then you can promote very large innovation, you can test the solutions, including the open platforms and standards in real-time conditions, and then you have the evidence of the impacts, and you can build on top of it more use cases and innovations, and provide also feedback, from instance, to the standardization organizations with the findings of these pilots. And this is an example of the pilots in these sectors organized by the different focuses areas there, so arable, fruits, dairy, vegetables, or meat. And as you see that we have funded different pilots connecting with the same solutions, different areas across the whole Europe. And just without entering into the case, this is there. So we have 5 trials that could look into 33 use cases with relevant results to introduce then the technology in the sector. The same can be applied to all the different sectors, industry 4.0, for instance, and beyond, mobility, etc. Or green efficiency, which is very much reliant on IoT. one thing I would like to mention is this link between research and innovation project and standardization. So this is something we have realized it's important if you want to have uptake in the market to mobilize our projects and ask them to contribute to standardization as a way to make the results uptaken by the overall market. So not having niches, but there. And of course, you have there standardization challenges. The first of all, and again, I have seen already in the presentation, is interoperability, which in particular in Europe is essential because we have 27 member states. And we need to look into these data paradigms. We are in the data economy with seamless flow of data. For that, you need interoperability at all levels. And then trying to sort out the chicken and egg solution. So bringing together the supply and demand side and define the standards at the appropriate level. If you define the standards too early, then you may struggle innovation. If you do it too late, then the market could be already occupied by a proprietary solution, and this is not what we want. And then, of course, open innovation system of FATs, and then we need that the standards could follow that path. That's why it's important that the research projects contribute to standardization. Then not looking also at not technical aspects, because there are many organizational issues that should be brought into the research, into the pilots, and later also into the standardization dimension. And of course, looking at policy and legislative requirements, in particular, security and protection of privacy, which should be included in both the research component, in particular in the pilots, but also these are values that we believe should be included in the standardization. Otherwise, you may have standards that are against the policy and not accepted by the citizens. Acceptance is key. For the IoT standards, this is then how we try to tackle this challenge using as well our research program. So as I said, play large scale pilots, because then it's experimentation in real scales. And we do it through our research projects, either Horizon Europe or Digital Europe program. We have funding for all these pilots, including large scale pilots that I have before. And they are in combination with project clusters in clear focus areas to advance the technology and then the leverage impacts within them and the verticals. And for that, again, important, these stakeholders engagement through the public and private partnerships. We need to bring all the stakeholders together. And there you have from IoT, from data, from artificial intelligence, security, and connectivity. We try to promote consensus buildings, and for that organize open meetings and workshops, so all the community can come, explain the requirements, and then see how the process works and provide feedback. And of course, we try to keep the bottom-up approach, but with just like steering, explaining our policy issues. This is an example of, because we are talking about IoT of Alliance of IoT Innovation, where you have the different working groups, and you have the one on research that contributes to identify research topics, but then you have also the one on standardization, and there for the difficult sectors, the different sectors that I talk about. And this is what we have learned from this model, bringing together research and standardizations. So with all the different findings from standardizations, then we need to analyze the landscape of different standards, identify gaps, what is still needed to do it. And this is a difficult situation because you have so many different standardization organizations. So really we need cooperation, and we need to bring together the researchers, the users through the large scale pilots, test beds, the policymakers, the industries, the alliances, because this is the only way to be able to advance and to define the solutions that could be applicable to everybody. And then, of course, that there will be done through the different focus of issues like high-level architecture, semantic interoperability, identifiers, security, and data protections. For all that, we try to open spaces in the research. Just to bring your attention to the deliverables made by IoT that are publicly available, or where you can find very useful information. And then smart cities, this was already the talk by my colleague Ola Virutonen, so I will not enter into that. We just like to mention how we support the production of this minimum interoperability mechanism and production of standards through our research projects, for instance, with Synchronicity, which was a large-scale pilot on smart cities and communities that was testing with different services, with different cities all around Europe, how this minimum interoperability mechanism could be implemented to serve the different use cases and then can be brought together to the different standardization organizations. And here you have, again, all the different, they are at national level, European, but also international. It's important that we bring together the results of the research and we contribute in a consensus based for common global solutions. And here, this is something similar that my colleague presented that I took. You see there all the national, European, international levels, different stakeholders there. And I would like again also to the same call in particular for the identification of use cases, for instance, in local digital twin, where we think that we should cooperate, not totally European level, but also at global level. And there, this workshop with colleagues from Republic of Korea is a quite good example. For the future, so it's again the paradigms from cloud to edge, to provide service for Internet of Things solutions. I could go there, and looking, of course, again, important the application side, the use cases, and including all the different dimensions. In particular, green, it's important there. So there you have find the recommendations of the next generation IoT and edge computing, where they have found different issues to continue the research, like Disco computing continuum, system integration platforms, and decentralized intelligence, supported by all open standards, APIs, open source, etc. And this is what we are funding now. So we have all these technology drivers for edge computing, the different dimensions that we have to look at that you have find here, from improving the latency, defining open architectures, the importance of the energy footprints, looking at security and privacy, etc. And this is how it's reflected in the our work program for Horizon Europe. So these are the current list of calls. Some two of them are already closed, and two of them are closing now, and they are under evaluations. And you see that we try to reflect all the different topics of research. A new work program will be published soon for 23-24. And this is all from my side. Here you can find all the different references to the links where you can find more information about my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emilio. Very clear and comprehensive overview of our activities, in particular in the research and development sphere, as well as the links with standardization. So let's move to the presentation of the Korean side with Dr. Jimmy Kim, who is working on Smart City Research Cluster at the Korea Institute of Civil Engineering and Building Technology, KICT. The floor is yours.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm Jimmy Kim, working at Korea Institute of Civil Engineering and Building Technology. I was suggested to have a presentation on research and innovation programs for IoT and smart cities. So I'll have about 10 to 15 minutes to briefly share R&D projects for smart cities in Korea. For introduction, I will briefly show how smart city policies evolved as conditions changed in Korea. In the phase one, the first smart city trend in Korea was called Ubiquitous City, also known as U-City. It was targeting on new cities under the first U-City Comprehensive Plan and U-City Act, and focused on building physical infrastructure such as integrated operation centers and telecommunications. In the phase two, from 2014 to 2017, to link system, create and transform U-Cities with low cost and high efficient services, the second U-City Comprehensive Plan was developed. Then finally, In the phase 3, the title of the project changed from U-City to Smart City, and the Smart City Act was legislated and Smart City Comprehensive Plan was developed too. From the first phase 1, phase 3 has been enhanced in multiple areas. Many local governments are now joining in smart city projects, and it is solving urban problems with growing innovation ecosystems. The current smart city projects follow the comprehensive plan named the Third National Smart City Plan. Its vision is to create a smart city, an innovative platform that changes people's life, with 3 objectives and 4 main strategies. The 4 strategies are adjusted model development of each growth stage, smart city vitalizations, infrastructure development, smart city innovative ecosystem development, and empowerment of global initiatives. Under the guidance of the Comprehensive Plan and Smart City Act, Korea has conducted 3 main smart city R&D so far. They are U-City R&D, National Strategic Smart City Program, and fostering international standardization activities on smart cities R&D. The UCT R&D was finished in 2013, and the 2 other projects are still ongoing under the direction of Korea Agency for Infrastructure Technology Advancement, also known as KAIA. First of all, I will introduce UCT R&D. The project started in 2007 and finished in 2013 with a budget of $82 million. It was first initiated to solve urban issues when the number of global smart city projects suddenly increased. Its goal was to develop a global U-Ecocity model and brandize it through 2 methods: 1, technology development project, and 2, policy project. In more details, it had 4 strategies: 1, UCT core technology localization and standardization; 2, citizen-friendly youth service; 3, eco-friendly green technology development; and 4, industry and research outcome vitalization. The yellow box shows the services that were developed through this project, such as U-Eco integrated platform, business service platform, public wireless, AP, and so on. The second R&D project is the National Strategic Smart City Program. This project was initiated to create R&D performance for innovative growth engines by developing smart city based on data, artificial intelligence, and pilot tests. It was funded $108 million jointly by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport and the Ministry of Science and ICT for 5 years, from 2018 to 2022 for 5 years. And this year is the final year of the project. It has testbeds in Daegu and Siheung and composed 3 core projects, 1 technical and 2 pilot tests. These are the 3 core projects. First, smart city model and base technology. Second, use case model. And third, living net model. It completed development of phase 1 technology, such as initial model of hub platform and development of data processing technology in 2019, and is on business development and expansion in 2022. There are a total of 76 research institutes involved in this R&D. These are the 3 core sectors. In sector 1, it develops a data hub model for integrated management of data from data hub, massive IoT, digital twin, and create a base for the testbed cities to lead the digital civilization and the fourth industrial revolution. In sector 2, the testbed city, Daegu, a mid-large size city with an infrastructure, was selected as a use case testbed city for resolution on issues such as transportation, safety, urban operation for service, technology development, and verification. In the sector 3, Siheung, a city based on certain industry and economy, was selected as a city lab testbed city for sustainable economic growth, urban environment, energy, welfare, urban growth, and regeneration. This project is trying to solve urban problems through urban solution provider, form sustainable society, and create digital economy. Below is the timeline of the project. You see It is nearly come to the end, and we'll be able to see the outcome by the end of this year. In this project, there were multiple standard demands derived, such as smart energy, transportation, integrated city management, data hub, big data, and so on. These demands on smart city standards moved on to the new standardization R&D that I'll introduce next. So this is the newest R&D named Fostering International Standardization Activities on Smart Cities. The goal of this project is to lead international standardization activities in smart cities and empower standardization capability, and to lead the global technology trends of smart city and respond to international standardization. There are 3 projects. The sector 1 is strategic planning for smart city standardization and governance. Sector 2 is the development of technology standards and service test standards in each smart city domain. And the sector 3 is smart city standardization, capability development, and international cooperation. This project began in 2020 and will end in 2023 with a budget of $9.7 million. This illustration basically describes the project. There is a smart city standardization governance in the top roof, and the international standardization organizations in the base, sustaining the house. In the middle, there are standardization objectives and domains such as smart transportation, energy, building, spatial data, and so on. And there are cooperation between domestic standardization organization, smart city standards working group, and smart city development projects supporting each other and the whole smart city framework. This is the sector 1 of the project. There are 6 research organizations involved for strategic planning for smart city standardization and governance. This year is the 3rd year of the project, and the goals are to develop mid-long-term standardization roadmap, integrated platform standard draft, smart city index framework and operation plan, project management framework development, and standards on service management system, metadata schema, and object recognition standard. The sector 2 is divided into 4 subsectors, each to develop standards on smart city transportation, energy, integrated standard, smart energy, building integrated standard, smart city spatial data standard, and smart city ICT standards. So this sector is researching for standardization on data integration of core domains of smart cities. The sector 3 is a smart city standardization, capability development, and international cooperation. Its goal is to lead the global standardization and develop standard information system for the globalization of smart city system. So its mission is to smart city standardization capability reinforcement, smart city quality evaluation system development, and smart city international standardization strategy development. So there was a brief introduction on smart city related R&D projects of Korea. I may have presented them way too briefly due to the limited time, but I hope you gained at least slight information on them. As I mentioned, the 2 projects are still ongoing and will end in the following couple of years. And Korea is experiencing many national changes with the new president elected and so on. I hope you all will keep in touch with us in Korea and reinforce this cooperation between Europe and Korea, so we'll be able to plan and dream for the next future of our smart cities. And thank you for listening, and for any further questions, feel free to contact me at the following email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. Another very, very interesting presentation, very clear as well. I think you see a lot of, again, convergence with what we're doing in the European Union, the links between work around research and development and how that then feeds into the standardization work at global level. We've already talked a lot about standardization, so and how policy, our policies at the public level tend to support this work on standardization.